Okay, hi everybody. Welcome to our side-by-side interview. We have four amazing mamas here in our group, and we have panels, and you're going to hear from all four of them. My name is Wendy Reynolds, and I'm from Huntsville, Alabama, and I've been doing Bright Line Eating for 5 years, and I'm excited tonight to be able to ask questions and listen to all the input from our great panelists. So I want to welcome those of the panelists. First of all, we have Jenny Mitchell. You want to wave? There's Jenny. And we have Angela Adair, and we have Jamie and Diana. And we're going to let each of them introduce themselves. We are recording, so this will go up on YouTube tonight, but we want to make sure that all of you that are here with us tonight are muted. So if you can mute yourselves, I hear somebody. We want to make sure that you're all muted. The panelists, you guys can stay unmuted though if you want. So let's go ahead and before we start on our questions tonight, let's go around the room, and if we can have each panelist introduce themselves, tell us a little bit about you and how long you've been on Bright Line Eating, your family, how many children you have, and if you, in a little bit about yourself. So let's go ahead and start with Jenny, and then we'll go to Jamie, and then Angela, and then Diana. Okay, Jenny?
Awesome. So I'm Jenny Mitchell. I live in South Jordan, Utah. I have five children. Oldest is almost 21, and the youngest is 9. I started Bright Line Eating when my youngest was about 7 months old, 8 months old. So I've been doing it just shy of 9 years now. And let's see what else. I work three-quarter time at my kids' charter school, and I also work at the temple on Saturdays. My husband's in the bishopric. I'm the young women's secretary. So life is busy, but it's good.
Thank you, Jenny. All right, Jamie?
I'm Jamie Peterson. I live in Cedar City, Utah. I used to be in a ward with Jenny 12 years ago or so. I have 6 kids, ages 10 to 26. 4 of them are grown, and 2 of them are still here with me. We also have a 21-year-old going to the local university. I have 120 music students that come through my house every week. That's how I know Angela, which is actually how I got into Bright Line Eating. Um, I've been doing this since January, and after 10 years of really working on trying to reach a certain goal, I finally did it this year. And um, I really love to compose music. I just released my first album actually on iTunes and Spotify and all the places. So that was really great. I also love to declutter, and I'm always ready to throw something away.
Nice. That's a great intro. Awesome. Welcome, Angela.
Yes, I'm Angela Adair. I live right outside of Cedar in Enoch, Utah. I have 7 kids. My oldest will be 16 in a couple of weeks, and clear down to a baby that's a week and a half old. Um, I have 5 boys and 2 girls. So they range. Everyone is about 2 years apart, except for the last, and there's about a 5 year gap, where I just felt impressed to have another couple of babies. So good thing for general conference, right? I started Bright Line Eating about, I don't know, I've been off and on for about 6 years, but really committed the last 2 years. With my second to last pregnancy, I was older and had gestational diabetes and was really heavy and did not feel good. And it just kind of spurred me into that movement of really taking my health seriously. And it was awesome because this last pregnancy, I was a 30-pound difference. And it was incredible. For my favorite things that I love to do, I do homeschool my kids. They are off and on with other schools, but they've never been in a normal public school. So we're really busy at our house with lots of different things. But my favorite thing I love to do is to learn. I love to do history lessons. We do lots of timelines. Anyway, I just feel like I'm giving myself a better education than I ever had. And right now I'm serving as the primary president, and that is also really busy. So anyway, we have about 100 kids in our primary, so it's been busy. And my secretary just had her baby too, so we're both have babies together. And then we're just I don't know, just living the dream. I feel like I'm in the thick of motherhood and I just love it. But it's busy and you have to rely upon the Lord a lot. So it's me.
Thank you, Angela. Wow, I'm tired listening. Oh, thank you. Diana, you want to introduce yourself? Oh, you're muted.
Sorry about that. Hello, my name is Diana Hawes, and I live in West Point, Utah, which is in northern Utah by by Hill Air Force Base. I have my husband and I just celebrated 17 years of marriage a couple weeks ago, and the next day my daughter turned 14. So I have two kids. Sadie is 14 and Derek is 8. I started Bright Line Eating in March of 2021. So what, 3.5, 4 years. And one of the things that, let's see, I keep busy. I work full time as an accountant for a construction company, and I'm able to split my time both working inside the office and working from home. And so my job allows me to kind of have some flexibility and be a mom and still be able to like drop my kids off at school and pick them up and stuff. One of my favorite things to do is to read. I used to be an avid reader until I had my daughter, and then I kind of gave it up because, my attention was so focused on my kids and stuff. But I've kind of picked up reading and I've really enjoyed that. So that's me.
Thank you. All right, now that you've all met everybody, we're going to attempt to play a little video that kind of shows a little bit more about them. And I think the food is all Angela's, right? I don't know that did anybody else? Oh, and Jamie's. Okay, both. Okay, let's do this. Let's see.
Crazy life we live. We all need someone to hold, a friend to light the way when the world starts to unfold. Through all the ups and downs, the highs and lows we shared, we'll stick together, ride or die. Let's show we really care. Through thick and thin, you've been there by my side, shoulder to lean on when the tears couldn't hide. You're the one who lifts me up when I'm feeling down. With you, my friend, there's no need to wear a frown. Friendship, oh friendship, upon the storms and sunny days, together we'll walk this road, hand in hand. Friendship, oh friend.
Okay, can you guys hear me okay? Yeah, okay, here we go. We're ready to rock. And our first question is about the logistics of your home. Where is the NMF in your house? Is it intermixed with yours or is it in a separate place? Is it not allowed in your house at all? And especially, how does dinner time work at your house? So let's go ahead and start with Diana, then Jeni, then Jamie, then Angela.
All right. So we do still have NMF in my house. There's a shelf in our pantry that is full of NMF for my family. I have a shelf in the refrigerator that has most of my prepped meals. I'm very willing to share my meals with my family and stuff. Our dinner time is a little bit different, maybe than most. My husband works swing shifts, so he's not home. So it's generally just myself and my two kids at home. And so a lot of the times I will just fix them whatever they want to eat, which is a lot of NMF and stuff like that. But I have always made sure, well, I've learned over the years, I should say, that meal prep for me has been the key in staying bright. If my meals are prepped and ready to go and just need to be heated up, then I will stay bright. If I have to cook my family dinner and then cook something for me separately, I will always break my lines. It was just inevitable because I'm usually exhausted after working and, doing all the after school chores and stuff like that. So, I just make sure that my food's ready. And sometimes if I'm feeling extra hungry or like maybe even struggling with maybe wanting to do a bite, like, a BLT while I'm cooking my dinner, I will heat my dinner up and just eat my dinner as I'm cooking for my family. And then we'll finish. Because if I'm going to eat something, I'd rather eat my food than obviously the food that will break my lines. So that's kind of how we do it.
All right, thanks. Jeni?
NMF is all over my house. It's kind of all intermixed. I don't really have my own space except what's prepped in the refrigerator. And so there's stuff in my refrigerator. It has not really been a trigger for me. So that's good. Yeah, I have to agree with Diana. My dinners are very much the same way. I'm prepping their meals and mine is already prepared. So I prep my meals at least 3 days in advance. And so sometimes I've got fresh vegetables that I'm making at the same time. But most of the time it's already packaged and I just have to heat it up and then we eat together. So I will say our dinners are not loaded with NMF though. Like we've never really been big on gluten and things that would make it an NMF meal. So the proportions are off, but generally speaking,
If you could feel free to say cold cereal or pizza or something. It's kind of hard to do this for an hour talking about kids and families and not being able to say the words. Just say what you need to say.
Yeah, so sometimes they're eating meals like that. My husband will make those generally. Like if they're gonna have pizza, then my husband will make it. I don't
Right.
make those. But for the most part, my kids are eating pretty healthy. So.
That's a good question too. Any of your husbands cook? So yeah,
at least half the time. So it's really helpful.
That's nice.
My husband's always at work, so he doesn't do a lot
Yeah.
of cooking. It's generally me. So
Okay. Jamie, what is your kitchen like in your cooking and dinner time?
Yeah, we have a full drawer that's an NMF drawer. It's pretty deep. If I ever see things on the counter, I'm quick to open the drawer and put them in. I like having the counter clean, but I also like to not see it. So, and then I hide any of the things that I've prepped that I think the kids might want in the vegetable drawer in the back. That's like my spot. They know if it's in a certain, like if it's in a quart jar or something, they know it's my food and it's measured. So they don't really get, I just have it all over the fridge. And sometimes if they see something on the counter, like vegetables, and they're going to eat it, they're like, did you measure that already? So that they're
I didn't even think about this, but they could be eating your food. Yeah.
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I don't wait for my husband. He's a president of a commercial construction company and a bishop, and he's doing his MBA right now. So he doesn't like, we're not waiting. We're going to eat at 5 and we'll save some for you. And we probably won't heat it up. He usually just comes in and takes care of it and figures out what we probably were doing. But also my kids cook. And so sometimes I give them ideas, but they cook 3 days out of the week and I cook the other days and usually on the weekends. And that works out really well. And when I cook, we probably eat most of the same meals. I just make mine a little different.
Mm-hmm.
And they almost always, if I'm making something different, they almost always want to eat mine. So they're kind of starting to change over, it seems.
Okay. So you cook very similar for your kids, bright like, foods. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we had like tacos the other day. I made shells for them like we usually have, but I had these little lettuce boats and they looked at mine and like, can I have a lettuce boat? Can I have a lettuce taco too? And so they didn't even eat the shells that I prepared for them.
Okay. That's amazing, actually. Angela, what's your kitchen like with 9 people?
Oh, it's busy. One of the things about having a big family is they all have a dinner night. So that is that we do at our house as well. They each get to pick their own dinner. So if it's something that's not compliant, then I just create my own meal. Just some of them, their comfort foods go back to some of our old traditional foods. But for the most part, they have transitioned over, just like Jamie was saying with her family. My kids eat hamburger salads and they have lettuce wraps, and I don't buy sugary stuff anymore. It's really, if they want some of their old traditional food, then they have to make it themselves. And I feel like it just kind of, I don't know. I know it takes the fun out of it for them sometimes, but it also relieves me of the stress of even thinking about it. They've watched me cry a lot in the last year when I've been pregnant and things have arisen. Like they've watched me on the 4th of July cry over something that was a tradition, and I think it's been good for them to see that mom can do hard things, and that I'm real, and that it is hard for me to pass up some of those things. So having it around my house, my husband would always call me the drug dealer because he knows that I'm the one who shops. And so if it comes in the door, it's because I had this whim of I wanted to buy that. A big thing that has helped our family is online shopping. It is amazing to just order what you need from a store and have it delivered to your front door. I have no temptations. I'm past the temptations, but every so often, you'll have these little, I don't know what the word is. I just feel like, oh, that would be fun to teach them about Italy. Let's do pasta or whatever, and in my head, I think, oh, but I need to think of something for me. So that works together, but I really don't buy it anymore. I just don't. And they just know that we have mom cereal, and different things. One thing that was hard for me at the very beginning was the same issue, is my kids would eat all my fruit. They might not eat all my vegetables, but they eat my fruit. And then I would get frustrated because fruit was mine, and I bought fresh pineapple and strawberries, and they were all gone in a minute, and so we have 2 refrigerators, and so I do hide my fruit in the other refrigerator. Or I'm kind of a food snob now too, and I go to natural grocers and buy the really good apples and the really good peanut butter, and so I hide those from them sometimes because they don't cherish them the way I do. So anyway, that's something. I do make a lot of salad jars, just because we're busy. And so they know that they don't eat that, but I would make them. My husband worked at the temple. He was the groundskeeper at the temple. And so I would just make him and me salad jars. And now people at the temple eat salad jars. So it's kind of fun to see how that's transferred to not just our family, but others too have seen that. So anyway, it helps when you get them involved, but it also helps have a strategy.
Question: how many of your kids talk about bright line eating to somebody else or another adult or their friends? Do they talk about bright line eating to other people because their moms do it?
Mine do a lot.
A little bit, yeah.
Really only to visitors.
To the house that come to your
People
home?
to the house, yeah.
Oh, okay. I was just kind of curious about that. All right, let's move on to how you handle your own food thoughts and your own hunger when you are dishing up NMF, or it's coming into the house, or there's leftovers from your kids. How do you handle that? Let's start with Angela, and then Diana, then Jeni, then Jamie. Angela?
So one of my biggest strategies is to not let that sabotager into my brain. If I feel deprived or if I feel frustrated, then I make sure that my food thoughts are cleared. For instance, if we go through a drive-through and my kids want something, I always get me a lemon water, just because my brain will shut off if I have something in my hand and I'm drinking it. They can be eating whatever, but at least I don't feel like I left empty-handed. I know that sounds silly, but it really has been such a good thing for me to have something to look forward to, or something to have. The same thing with sometimes at night when they want to have a family night treat or something like that. I always prepare something in my mind, oh, peaches or some kind of fruit, or something that I have added a fruit in at night just for me, in my plan, just so that I can have that caveat for myself, for my brain. It's easier for me not to fail if I have that as kind of a fallback. So my brain will shut off and be quiet, because that has been really frustrating. Is I feel deprived sometimes at the very beginning, especially when we were having these events and different things. I really had to I worked with Erin Hart and health coaching, and it was really good for her to be like, focus on the people, focus on the memories, focus on the conversations instead of the food, because my whole life was built around, what are we going to have for this meal at our family reunion? What are we going to have this? My dad would always talk to me about meal planning. And I think once I finally got over that and thought about the people and thought about my relationships, it really, I don't know, that really helped me. So the same thing goes for my kids too. If I look at them in their eyes, if I talk to them as we're talking, the food isn't as important anymore to me. It's been a huge game changer for me. So anyway, those are
Thank
my
you. Thanks, Angela. Diana?
This is still kind of a work in progress for me. Like I said, in my last question, I make sure my food is prepped. And sometimes if I'm feeling those thoughts of like wanting to try the food or, whatever I'm cooking for my kids, I will eat my own food. And one thing, like my kids eat a lot of mac and cheese. I mean, that's my son's favorite food. And, when you're cooking it, you set the timer and then you always have to try the noodles to make sure that they're right. And I always just call my daughter. I'm like, here, will you taste this? Is it good enough for you? Like, is it cooked enough? So that I'm not tasting or tempted to be like, if I ask my son, he's just like, this is gross, mom, where's the cheese? He's not very helpful in that respect. But as far as cleaning up food, my kids are old enough that they clean up their own plates. They know that when they're done, they, scrape up whatever food is left and put it in the sink and rinse it and stick it in the dishwasher so I don't have to do any of that. I also, for me, something that has been really helpful for me is once I'm done eating, I go and brush my teeth right after I'm done eating and before I clean up dinner. Just because to me that in my brain, it's signaling you're done eating, you've flossed and brushed your teeth. I don't like to do it twice in a night. And so that kind of just helps me just, kind of close that kitchen in my mind. Your teeth are brushed, you're done. And then I can go back down and, wash the dishes and so that's been really helpful for me.
Thank you. Thanks. Jeni?
I don't have to serve up food very often. My kids are all older. My youngest is 9, so they're usually serving themselves. Cleaning up the same as Diana, like they clean up after themselves. That's not an issue. I do have a rule that I stay out of the kitchen when they're serving family home evening treats.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't even go in the kitchen. They all go off and they serve it up, or my husband serves it up for them, but I don't go near it. I just feel more comfortable with my program when I just stay out of that completely. Yeah. The only time that's the food thoughts become a trigger for me, and Wendy, you and I have talked about this before, is like family reunions, summer vacation time frame. That's when I tend to get more food thoughts because there was just a pattern with that. And even after bright line eating, I'd have a cycle of breaking in the summertime, and I've had to shift my thinking about what vacation meant. And because in my brain it was like free for all almost, like I wanted a break from food prep. I wanted a break from, it was just it was a completely different pattern. So I've had to shift over the last few years how I even thought about summer. And I don't take a break from my program. And so I think it was a process of coming to that. And like Angela said, just making relationships more important than the food. So
thanks, Jeni. Thank you. And Jamie?
I don't really feel like I have a lot of triggers right now when with cleaning up or if my people are eating it, it doesn't seem to be a problem most of the time. But if it starts to become a problem, I leave the kitchen, and that's the biggest room in our house, the kitchen living room. It's all open. And I put on my earbuds and I listen to a book. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I just put my earbuds and I forget to turn anything on, and it just like redirects my brain to do work. That's what I like, just a project or decluttering something always makes me feel good. Or sometimes I just get like a cup of tea, which feels easy to me. Like it doesn't take very long to do that. And I'm so good at throwing food away. So I do not feel bad about that. Like if that's going to be inside of me, I'm going to be so much more worried about that. So it just, especially treats that my kids have left on the counter, I just throw it in the garbage. or, you know, whatever is left on their plate. We're just quick to get rid of all the stuff.
Yeah, it doesn't mean we have to find somebody to give it to. We just throw it away. Yeah. I know that's hard for some, but I hear what you're saying. Let's talk about if your kids waste food. Sometimes there's a lot of food left over, wasted, or there's new foods, or they refuse to eat. Maybe you can kind of see some of these feelings coming up with your kids eating and how they eat or don't eat or waste food, and how that creates kind of feelings within ourselves. How do you process those feelings? We'll do Jeni and then Angela.
Um, I know I do have a son that it just doesn't eat very balanced anything. He likes meat, especially with bones, and and he likes all kinds of floury, you know, sugar and floury snacks and stuff. So, um, you know, if he doesn't finish something that's good, I put it in the fridge. I almost always end up throwing it away because he's not going to eat it anymore. So I just, I really don't worry about the waste. But I also say, you know, we talk about like next time take half and then let's see if you finish it. There's always more. We can always go to the store and get more if we needed to. You don't need to like try to get all of the food that you want right this minute before somebody else gets it. You know, we can always run to the store. Um, that's all I say.
Yeah, and as we move on to Angela, then Diana and Jeni, I think it's interesting. I have a lot of grandkids, and I'm never quite sure what to say or not to say because we don't want to create this problem within their head. They don't have the food addiction necessarily. So if you guys want to address that at all too with your teenager kids or whatever, sometimes my grandkids will say, "Why don't you eat this with us?" And you can't say, "Well, I'm trying to eat healthy," because that tells them they're not being healthy. So it's a balance between how to communicate with your kids. Angela?
It's tricky because I feel like that's part of my problem is sometimes I had a grandmother that made me finish my plate and made me do those things, or we were kind of poor, and that was what my parents bought, so that's what we ate, or we went, it was a treat to go to restaurants. It was a fun thing. So I feel like it's hard with your kids, but I also know that it's worth it to teach them these principles now because I've watched especially my 16-year-old daughter transform. Like she said, "Can you just tell that your daughter looks like a supermodel now?" But it was just so funny to me because she's seen even just a difference in her. And just talking to her about that, I think that she's seeing that it's important to have that. One of the things we have is chickens. We have chickens. So when they waste food, I just give it to my chickens. So it's really easy for me to just disregard those things. I do throw candy a lot away. And those things they know I don't like it. I think it's a tactic of Satan. But I'm like, he is trying to control you. You've got to get rid of this candy. But anyway, those are some things when they try new foods. I just try to encourage them to try a little bit. Like I said, and so anyway, those are some things that helped us.
Thanks, Angela. Diana?
So I was raised in the generation that was taught you clean your plate. You eat everything on your plate, whether you're full or not. And I feel like that was kind of the catalyst in creating and
stop the Zoom meeting.
Sorry, I'm getting feedback. Someone's not muted, but
yeah, someone's not muted, but I can't see who it is.
Yeah, I can't tell anyway. But I feel like that was kind of the catalyst in starting or developing my food addiction because I was taught if it's on your plate, you eat it. It doesn't matter how you feel. And so I never wanted to teach. And well, I mean, it's been very hard for me to break that thought that you have to. I mean, now that I'm doing bright line eating and my meals are measured, I can clean my plate easy and I have no guilt with it because, man, I'm going to eat every stinking bite because I only get, this much. But with my kids, and I've started from when my daughter was younger, that I would just, tell her she would eat. And when she's like, "Mom, I'm done," and it's not done, I just throw it away. And my husband struggles with wasting food. He'll be like, I'll just eat it. But when he's not here, I have to let it go because I don't want my kids to grow up with that addiction that they have to finish their plate, because sometimes when I'm dishing it up for them, they're not that full, or that they're not that hungry. Like my son's on medication that affects his appetite. And so in the morning, I make breakfast for my kids every single morning. And sometimes he wants a breakfast sandwich and sometimes he just wants an applesauce. And I've just learned to let him to tell me what he wants, because that's what he'll eat. If I make a breakfast sandwich and he wants applesauce, he's not going to eat it. But if an applesauce is going to fill him for, until school lunch, then it seems to be fine. And I've just tried to kind of instill that in my kids, so they're not in the mindset of, my mom gave me all this food, I need to eat it so I don't waste it. And so that's kind of what I've done, just to try to break that generational, that, I don't know what to call it, but just that habit of cleaning your plate.
Yeah. Yeah. That message. Did any of you remember when Susan Pierce Thompson talked about kind of licking and clearing her yogurt out of her bowl or whatever, just trying to get every last drop? So yeah, I think we're in good company. We get it.
I mean, now it's a good thing, but only when it's weighed and measured is it a
Right.
good thing to clean your plate.
That's right. And Jenny, do you have any experience in, I don't know, what we're talking about?
When my kids were little, it was more of a problem. I feel like maybe the culture in the family that I grew up in, my mom would always, she would clean up after us if we didn't, meaning she would eat, like whatever.
Oh.
And I was that mom when my kids were little. Oh, they left a few French fries on their plate, I'll just eat them or whatever. And that hasn't been a problem for a while now. So I don't know if I just had to make a conscientious effort when I was on Bright Line Eating, but it's been years ago, so I don't even remember like the effort really. I only have one now, my 9-year-old, who really struggles with wasting a lot of food. There's a lot of foods he just doesn't like, and I've had to come to the point where I ask him to make his own, meaning like to serve himself, because like even for his school lunches, I can't make him a sandwich. He won't eat it. He doesn't like sandwiches. And so like we really have to coach him, like, well, what will you actually eat? And sometimes I'm like making him pancakes in the morning and putting him in his school lunch, because that's what he'll eat at school. So it's he's just a tricky one to figure out, like what is it that you actually like and you'll actually eat. And sometimes he comes home and his lunchbox is still mostly full, like it's uneaten, and I'm just like, what do we do with this? And more, I'm frustrated with how to teach him how to eat, less about the wasted food. We just throw it away. But I'm still struggling to figure out, like, what is this child going to put in his body? He's petite, like he's super tiny little kid. And I'm like, you need to grow, he looks like he's 2 years younger than he is. And, so my concern is more like, how do I get protein in this child's body? And how do I, help his body to be strong, and less about whatever the waste is. So.
Well, and it still puts forth effort, because you're mothering a child. You're not only just worrying about your own staying bright and following your plan, but you have also this added responsibility. So it is more. It's more than just worrying about yourself, which kind of leads me into this next question. I think.
Can I say something?
Yeah,
else?
go ahead, Jamie. Yeah.
So we had this conversation. My youngest is 10, and he watched me weighing my food and stuff. He's like, why are you doing that? And sometimes my other kids are like, do you think you're fat, or whatever? And I told him, my brain's broken. I didn't listen to my body for so many times that my brain it doesn't work when it's full. Like it doesn't tell me it's full. So I need to measure this so I know I have the right amount. And, so we talk a lot about, the feeling you get when you're full, and do you need more or do you need less? And, just trying to listen to your body. And we just are like, listen to your body, because that's going to help you the most. You don't have to eat more just because it's here, or, because everybody else is doing it. If you listen to your body when it tells you it's full, then then you won't have a broken brain like I do.
I like that you take the emphasis off fat. You know what I mean? And that's what I worry about with my teenage granddaughters is, they know I've lost 100 pounds, but I don't want to put that on them. So that's tricky. Yeah. So this next question, 2 weeks ago, Susan Pierce Thompson was doing the accountability call. She always does Sunday mornings. And there was a young mom that called in, that is breaking her lines and I don't know if she was young, but she has young kids. I always say young mom, but I don't know what her age was. And she talked to Susan Chris Thompson and said that she feels like everybody in Bright Line Eating is in their 60s and they're retired and they're not raising kids. And she didn't know if there was any hope or not of being able to do this thing and be bright. And what happened is the chat started blowing up. Well, first of all, Susan said, I have kids, I'm doing it. And then people in the chat started saying, we have kids and we're doing it. And I remember thinking, how are they doing it? That's why I'm really interested in your answers. And the question that I want to ask you guys is what do you do when your stress level is so high and you don't get to do what I get to do? I can go for a walk, I can take a bath, I can go meditate, I can read a book, I can go to bed, I can shut the door. I don't have 2-year-olds knocking on the door that need me. So what do you guys do when that stress level gets so high and you aren't able to do those things that us empty nesters are able to do easily? Let's go ahead and share whatever it is that works for you. And let's start with Jeni, and then Jamie, then Angela, and then Diana. Jeni?
I'm really fortunate at this point because my kids are a little bit older. I can escape if I need to. I'll walk out the door and I'll go on a walk or take a shower or just shut my bedroom door and lock it. That I couldn't do that when I started Bright Line Eating. My whole pattern has shifted, I think. It is hard when my kids were little, it was very difficult. And I think it just takes a different kind of regeneration. So I like from the perspective of when my kids were littler, I would just change pace and I would sit down on the couch with them and I would drop my priorities. My priorities tended to be like, I'm trying to get the laundry done or, those sorts of chores or whatever. And a lot of times when the kids get needy or when there's just a lot of demands, they just need a little bit more time. And I just have to change my perspective and give them a little bit more. So we would just have cuddle parties on the couch or we'd have a dance party or that sort of thing. Now, like I said, my kids are older and I can take my breaks. And I don't remember the last time my stress level was that high that I felt like I didn't have a way to relieve the stress. So.
Okay. Wow. Thanks. Jamie.
Yeah, I don't know if I have any really good answers here. Probably Angela really does. But we did have a grandson living here this summer. His parents were taking care of him. They were living here also. The house was trashed every day. I mean, it was really stressful. I don't know that I handled it very well, but what I do know is like my habit stacks made all the difference. If I was looking for God's hand in my life and being grateful, that I just didn't feel as stressed. So, and that seems so silly when you already feel like you are drowning in work, like it seems like, well, that's just one more thing I have to do. But that little thing of seeing the good, looking for the good, praying for eyes to see the good, I think that really is what made the difference to me this summer. I do take a bath sometimes too. And my kids are older. They just kind of do their own thing. And I don't want to avoid them, but sometimes I do. And I take a bath or I do yoga or I get in bed really early, 8:00, 8:30. I get in bed. They're supposed to be in bed and I just have all my quiet time. But I think it's the morning prep and the night prep that actually help my stress level during the day so much more than I would have thought was possible.
Well, and I think from the answers that you guys are saying, a lot of what you're talking about is in your home. But of the moms of young children on my Getting Games teams, they live in the car. They're always driving kids to school and lessons and sports. And that period of time from, I don't know what time it is for you guys, maybe from school being out till after dinner time, that seems like a really stressful time too. So I don't know if anybody wants to address that, but it seems like at home, it's probably a little more contained than when you're out in that crazy chaos of taxiing kids around. Is it Angela's next? Yeah.
I'll address that right now. When I first started, there would be these patterns, like we would drop my kids off at music at Jamie's house or whatnot, and we would go get a treat or whatever. And I had to rewire my brain to not drive down that street, or we would go to the library, or we would go see grandma, or we would do something different. And I had to rewire my habits that I had really deep habits of just that was kind of my out. Let's deal with stress with food, right? And now we go to grandma's or we go do those things. So I think I had to really shift my brain in that stressful moment. I've tried to take a lot of time for myself, especially having a new baby. I wake up and make sure I get a shower in right away. I really think it was really hard to leave the hospital, and I don't deal with depression, and I know that a lot of people do. But it was really scary for me to have to fill out a suicide form before I left the hospital, and how many moms deal with suicide. And I think a lot of it has to do with self-care, and that they are not taking care of themselves. They're not showering. They're not taking time in the morning, maybe just for some meditation or prioritizing their health. That's why I think bright line eating is incredible for mothers. I actually wish that more mothers did bright line eating because they need it. And Heavenly Father needs them to have it at this time. I feel strongly about it. Because there is a plot against mothers right now. And I think that Satan knows what he's doing with getting depression and suicide thoughts and some of these things into these mothers because they're not whole. They're not. They're using so much of their time to caregive for others. And so I think it's important to have those habits in the morning, especially for these moms that have kids. They have to be on their game right away. I have to get up, get in the shower, say my prayers, and get right into the kitchen and get the food going, because that's when my family gathers for scriptures, is around food. And I have to be prepped for that. I have a fantastic husband that anytime I struggle, I can say, I am struggling right now. Please take the kids, or I need some time, or I'm having food thoughts. Please help me, And I think he's getting the picture that he's my number one support. Like, I need his help, and bear my heart to him a lot of times, saying things about food, but sometimes I just need his support in that. And then my kids also, I reach out to them and say, I'm having a hard day. Please help me. Help me pick up the house. I think the house also is a huge thing. We are trying to be minimalist as well, and it has helped me to get rid of some clutter in my brain, because when the house is clean, I feel so much better as well. So I think some of those habits have helped me, but my biggest tactic for overcoming things has been to serve. And I was going to be released because my husband's in the bishopric and I'm the primary president. And I prayed a lot about being released and having a new baby and sitting by myself in church with 7 kids. And I just felt like this was the traction that I needed. I needed that talk from Elder Bednar that I had to have the load. That is the load to bear so that I can help others and I'm not so inward focused. So I chose to keep my calling. I chose to do some of those things because it gives me my out. And one of those things is I love to create experiences. So that was my other thing, is when I struggle, I go out, I get on Canva and I create a party, or I create an activity, or I create a family night or something that we are creative beings. And so I feel like that's something that has helped me, is getting out of myself, serving and creating, whether it be painting, which I love to paint, or creating, or things like that. So anyway, those are my tactics. But I really wish we could switch this paradigm of, I really preach it. I preach BLE a lot just because I feel like it's needed so much right now, especially with motherhood. So
Thank you. I can see your testimony and your clarity with all of you. I was just thinking, we're talking to 4 bright mamas, so everybody's very present and very clear, and the triggers are not flying. I mean, you can see that in your witness to the way you live your program. Thank you. Thank you. Diana?
So when I thought about this question, so my little boy is autistic, and so that brings a lot of extra challenges. And having a husband that's not home in the evenings and is at work can sometimes be a lot. And I can tell you that I've really struggled with this a lot, but I'm so grateful for my daughter who has been able to recognize when I'm at my wit's end and when I just need a break from my son. He's amazing, but it's hard. And we'll be like, hey, Derek, come into my bedroom. Let's hang out when, I need to focus on something. Or I just need a break, or because just some of the challenges that come with, his autism and the needs that he has. Um, One thing that has been really hard from this year, but I finally feel like I'm getting a handle on it, is that we've church from 12 to 2, which does not really align with the meal times that I usually eat. And I would come home from church and be fixing my family something to eat, and I would just be hangry because I hadn't eaten yet. And I just decided, you know what? I'm going to come home. I'm going to make my food first. Then I will make family food, something for them. And you know what? None of them even noticed that they had to wait a little bit longer to eat while I got my food, like cut my vegetables or whatever, if I didn't have anything prepped and stuff. And so that was been a game changer. But as my son has gotten older, he has done a lot better as far as being able to be by himself and keep himself entertained and not always constant. He's on the run. He wakes up in the morning and he is on the go all day long, every day. And he's just been able to kind of be a little bit not as active, but spend time creating stuff. He loves to build things out of the Legos and blocks, and I have creations all over my house and pictures all over my house because that's his creative outlet. But I know for me, like, bright lighting has helped me to be able to manage my emotions, and we'll get into that question in a little bit. But there are times too that I'll just go lay on my bed and I won't say anything, and I'll just lay there for a while. My son will be like, Mom, where are you? Mom, it takes him a minute to find me, but that's just, those are just some of the things that have helped me. But I still get angry. I still get, stressed out. It's just all just trying to figure out what works every day. And sometimes it works today and it won't work tomorrow. So
That's because we're all human. We have hard days and then we have happier days. There's just some days that are just hard. Thank you for your honesty. We have two more questions. This next one is, I would really like to know how it has blessed your life and your family's life to be bright, and certainly how has it blessed also your spiritual walk, your relationship with Heavenly Father. Let me see what order we're going in. Diana, then Jeni, then Jamie, then Angela. Diana?
So this question, I think the biggest blessing has been that I'm just happier. My mood swings aren't as up and down. I still have my moments and stuff. But we're also more active as a family. When you're carrying, I've lost over 100 pounds, and when you're carrying an extra 100 pounds, the thought of going for a walk is like, not going to happen. But it's interesting because we'll go for walks at night. We travel a lot more. We go on hikes. We bought paddle boards, and we like to go paddle boarding. I never thought in my entire life that I would ever be on a paddle board, let alone be able to sit on a paddle board. I haven't been able to master the standing or the kneeling, but I can get on it and I can paddle around and stuff. But my daughter will look at, like, memories will come up, and she's like, Mom, I'm so glad that you don't look like that anymore because you're active. And like, she meant it in a good way. Like, she's like, I love that we're active and that you're willing to go do stuff, and that, you just don't want to sit home and eat all the time. Like, it's not about the food anymore. And so that's probably been the biggest blessing, is just my mood swings and just being more active. And we don't eat out as much as we used to. We don't go, I don't go to McDonald's or wherever, when I don't want to cook. I try to have something at home because I can't eat at those places. There are very few places that I could get a bright meal if I need to, but we just try to eat more at home because that's where my safe zone is.
Thank you, Diana. Jeni? Diana, you have your hand up. You can lower it. Jeni?
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Huge blessings for me. I think many of you already know my story, but I suffered from a lot of, I had gut inflammation. They thought I had rheumatoid arthritis. I had lots of inflammatory issues, pain in my joints, especially in my hands. I was just really sick, and I was only, maybe turning 40 right about that time. I was sick for a long time, probably, I don't know, 7 or 8 years before I found Bright Line Eating. So everything has shifted as far as my health is concerned. I just don't experience pain like I experienced before. And that just makes a happier mom because, when you're in constant pain, you're kind of grumpy. And so I'm definitely a much more pleasant person to be around just because I'm not in pain. Spiritually, it has been night and day. I feel like the Lord is teaching me how to receive revelation in a way that I never was capable of before. And I don't think that I could have had that kind of relationship and intimacy with the Spirit. Now I'm going to cry, sorry. Mm-hmm. I could not have had that before. And I'm really grateful that I'm in a position where I can feel the influence of the Spirit on such a regular basis.
Thank you. And boy, does it take that personal revelation and inspiration to be a mom and to know what to do in certain situations. And it's just so much more clear when we're bright and not into the food. Thanks, Jenny. Jamie?
I just feel so much more joy. I mean, it feels miraculous to me that, this is not even a year. And I feel like, my body looks different, but that's not the biggest part. Is I think my spirit, if you could see it, I think it looks different.
We can see it.
Yeah, I feel so much clarity. Just little things like, what do I want to do today? It just feels like answers come to me so much faster than they used to. I've had lots of conversations with my kids. I have my 21-year-old. He keeps talking about my diet. And I'm like, buddy, this isn't a diet. This is a way of living, And so we've had lots of good conversations. My daughter, we went out of town with her recently, she and her husband, and we were at a hotel and got breakfast at the hotel. And she was like, Mom, I can't believe you're still doing this. Like, this is thing. So guess what? She started doing it a few weeks ago. She was here at my house after that trip. And she's like, I'm just going to eat everything you're eating. And she's been going to town and has been bright all these days. And it's like, it makes me feel so happy just knowing that she's probably going to have similar feelings that I felt, like the transformation of having a cleaner mind and cleaner thoughts and just more clear, just happier. I just feel so much more grateful than I ever remember feeling before.
And how's it affected your spiritual walk with God?
Yeah, I have this little sketch pad. That's my journal, and I write like thoughts that come to mind in different colors so I can just visualize it a little better and it's easier to review. And I just have so many more things, like so many more, just so much more revelation. I feel like it's really been and a little bit more clear on here's what I need to work on next. I feel like I'm getting this thing down and now I can let go of some of the grudges or, be more forgiving or be a little quicker to let go of whatever some annoying person said or, whatever. I just feel like I feel a lot more aware, I guess, of maybe what I can work on next.
Yeah, it's that freedom to grow. When we're in the food, we can only serve God or mammon. And to me, if I'm in the food, there's not much room for God in my life. Thank you, Jamie. Angela.
So first of all, I'm 41, just had my 7th baby. My doctor he was just flabbergasted. I don't know the word. Like every time I go in and call people in, have you seen what she's done? Have you seen what her life has changed? Wow. Like he would just tell everybody. It made me feel so good when he took me off of the obese chart and he was like, and I'm like, I'm 6 months pregnant. You're saying that to me? That's a gift, So I just have to thank Heavenly Father for this last baby, because I just really it was an incredible gift. And I shared a lot of it with people just because I looked very different, but I also felt so good. I thought I could even go another week with having a baby in me, like before I was like, get him out of me. But anyway, that was one of my big gifts. When I first started, I really, really needed a deep why. I wanted to have something to anchor those thoughts into. Everything was just in this deep why. I know all of us have gifts and opportunities to serve and to do, but I just felt so strongly that Heavenly Father needed me. I have a great mission to perform on this earth. And as I prayed about it, I received a beautiful dream. And it was on New Year's Eve. And anyway, this dream just came to me, and I was walking in the church office buildings, and they were having a celebration, and there was a giant, huge birthday cake for someone. And I turned around and ran. And in my dream, I thought, I can't even be around this. And so I ran, and I ran into a hall full of a library of books, and there were books stacked clear to the ceiling of these books of all the prophets and the apostles and what they've read to receive knowledge and wisdom. And as I went to one of them, I just still remember this dream so vividly. And I walked up, and I took a book off the shelf, and it was a hidden book that nobody had seen before, but I had seen it, and I wanted to read it. And as I pulled it off, I woke up. And I went to my living room and opened up to the word of wisdom. And the words came out of the word of wisdom. It says, find wisdom. This was the promise: find wisdom and great treasures of knowledge, even hidden treasures. And it just gave me my why. I know Heavenly Father has a purpose and a plan, and that He will give us hidden treasures and knowledge, but we have to have clarity. And that was my deep why. And it's probably too personal to say, but I have just felt this added measure of the Spirit because of Bright Line Eating. And I just remember when Susan Pierce Thompson gave an interview on the Today Show, and she obviously isn't a member, but she just said, I feel called. I feel called that they need this at this time. And I thought, oh my goodness, talk about a life mission. And it resonated with me. And I think that each of us have been called to preach this, to be a part of it. And so I'm just grateful I found it when I was a little bit younger, and I can help my kids break chains of addiction, and I can help myself. And my mother has been doing it, and I've had so many people, come to me and ask me questions. I was so blessed to have Jamie come and ask me about it. It's been wonderful to watch her journey, and she gives me strength as well. So anyway, I feel very blessed in so many different ways, and I will have to put a picture of my before and after of my pregnancies, because they are out of control. They are just so different, and even my kids look different as well. So anyway, that's a lot.
Thank you. No, it's okay. Thank you for your sweet testimony. It's amazing when you have those dreams, how vivid when they're those kind of dreams, they stay with you, every detail. So thank you for sharing that. We have one last question that we're going to ask everybody. And the question is that I want to ask each of you is there anything that might have helped you or that you wish you would have known when you first started Bright Line Eating? And kind of married to that, coupled with that, would be what you would share with somebody else. Maybe that's a mom of young kids that's struggling right now. And I want to know, has it gotten easier? Has it gotten easier as moms? Not just because your kids have gotten older, but what's gotten easier for you in your program? So that's kind of a 3 or 4 questions at once, but this is your chance to give kind of your final thoughts to anybody that's new or struggling or wish things that maybe you had known when you first started. So we'll start with Angela, Diana, Jeni, and then Jamie.
So something that I have found is I didn't think it would go away so fast. My sugar cravings and different things, I'm just not tempted anymore. And it's incredible. So just stick to it. The other things that have come to my mind is I love Laurie Lundgren's recipe books. I use those a ton at the very beginning, just so that I could see what ingredients were just easy to mix up with. She has everything put together. And so it was just easy for me to have her already measure and weigh everything for me. And I could just follow a recipe. And they were traditional foods that my family would eat as well. You know, maybe it was chicken pot pie, or it was tuna casserole, or stroganoff, or something like that. That was just so easy. The other things were bags of frozen vegetables. They're so easy to steam. I would just throw that together, grab a protein and a fat, and make my vegetables really fast with that. Mm-hmm. The other thing is, Heavenly Father will help you. You need to pray about it. I really have felt strength in that. And then also, I listen to something Bright Line Eating almost every day. I try to do that to keep me in balance, or I, go on the Facebook page a lot, has been a huge support. Also, just reaching out for support and having that at the conference. That was awesome that we talked about. Really, we need our family. So our Bright Line Eating family has been a big thing. So the other thing is, I always have fresh fruit. Always. I buy 2 or 3 pineapples a week. I always have apples. I buy really good ones too, so that they're sweet. A lot of the stuff at the store, sometimes you're going to get the pesticides on them. So I try to rinse them out with baking soda or whatever. But anyway, those are just some of my tips, is just keep it simple, and also reach out and have some good recipes that you can fall back to.
Thanks, Angela. Diana?
I was just going to say, I didn't really address the whole spiritual journey that I've been on in Bright Line Eating, but for me, like, just increased spirit. Like, there has been some revelation that has come to me that I don't think that I would have recognized or realized that I needed to know when I was in the food. The mental capacity that my brain can handle is so much more because I'm not in the food. I am like Angela, when it comes to sugar, I have no temptation. It's not even, I can be around it and it does not even tempt me whatsoever. The biggest probably game changer for me has been meal prep, and to make sure that I have something ready. Or, like Angela talked about, I always have frozen vegetables in my fridge or in my freezer, and I'll steam those and do a protein. And for me, sometimes I also love Lori Lundgren's recipes. I don't do a lot of them anymore, but I have maybe 3 or 4 dinners that I will rotate, and I will meal prep a batch of it for breakfast, lunches, and dinners, and eat the same thing for 3 or 4 days. And then I'll make something different and switch it around. And it's just easier because then I'm not trying to come up with something different every single night. That works for me. My kids are a different story. They won't eat the same thing every single night. But for me, if I can have it and batch pack it, breakfast, I bake it. I take a recipe and I times it by 4, put it in a 9x13 pan, cut it into 4s, put it in the fridge. I have 4 breakfasts, for the next 4 days. And it literally takes me 5 minutes, to put together and stuff. I think the biggest difference for me this year has been joining Bright Lifers. I thought that I could do it by myself for so long, and I couldn't. I needed the connection in the Bright Line Eating group. This Facebook group that we have has been such an impact, made such an impact for me. The Tuesday night support meetings, I love going because it just gives me that extra strength sometimes that I need to make it through the week. But being a Bright Lifer and having that connection in the Bright Line Eating group, Getting Games team has been huge. I'm on my 4th team and it has been amazing because it gives me that extra motivation, because I don't want to be the person that gets a 0. I want to be the person that gets a 1, and so that kind of gives me my motivation. But those are some of the things that have been game changers for me. Meal prep is probably the biggest one.
Thank you. I think, hey, Angela, go find your baby. We want to see your little 12-day-old Joshua. Is he near you?
I was just going to say, I've seen Angela's picture of her previous pregnancy and her Bright pregnancy, and like, you would not believe what a difference.
Yeah.
What a difference. I wish that I had Bright Line Eating when I was pregnant, because I was morbidly obese and pregnant, and it was very difficult.
Thank you, Diana.
Anyway,
Thanks.
sorry.
Yeah, that's okay because I interrupted too. I want to see this cute little 12-day-old baby. Is it Jenny and then Jamie? Jenny, are you next? Yeah, Jenny.
Yeah. I'm gonna just sound like I'm on repeat from Diana because the game changers for her will be game changers for me. Oh, here he is.
Yeah, let's say hi to little Joshua and then we'll let
Oh my
Jenny
goodness.
talk. Oh, he's so new. Aww.
And tell us who your daughter is. Which daughter is this? Hi. Oh, you're muted.
Are you muted? We can't hear you, Angela, but it doesn't say you're muted.
Yeah,
It shows to
Oh.
me she's
Did
muted.
it? Okay.
Yeah.
That's Adelaide. She's 16.
Okay,
Oh,
thank you.
Jamie knows.
good job, Jamie.
Very
Yeah, so
sweet.
my repeat of Diana. So there's two things that really shifted my program. So I've done bride lighting, like I said, 9 years, and I did it on my own for the first 7, and I ended up in the ditch every year. And every year that I ended up in the ditch, my stay in the ditch lasted longer. So my last stay in the ditch was like 10 months. And two things happened that were game changers. One, I joined this community. And I think so everybody that's here, good job. Like you've already done really like that was critical for me. I needed to see that other people were doing it and were being successful with it. I think that was a huge game changer. And then the second thing was a conversation that I had with Shauna Murph about meal prep. And I never I didn't prep my meals ahead of time. And she encouraged me to have at least one day. If I can go more, 3 or 4 days. And for a mom, that's hard, right? Like I had a lot of things on my plate. Like dedicating a time to prep meals was a big ask, but it shifted everything. Like I can be 100% right because what I needed was fast food. I needed my good food to be fast food. And it's so like now it's just habit to prep extra so that I have 4 lunches in my fridge, like because we made extra vegetables today. Like it just has shifted everything so that now my meals really are fast food. I can put my lunch together in a matter of 2 minutes, less probably. I could probably time it in 30 seconds. I don't know. I've never timed it, but that's the ultimate fast food. And that's what a mom needs. And that's
I love it.
everything for me. So
awesome. Yeah. Healthy, bright fast food. There we go. Jamie?
In addition to all those things, that's what I would have said too. I know a lot of people love the streak. I'm 1,000 days bride or 5,000 or whatever the thing is. And I just noticed that doesn't work as well for my all or nothing brain. So one thing I wish I had known is you don't have to throw everything out if you break your streak. Like you can get right back on. And then you can look back and say, wow, out of the last 100 days, I only broke my lines 4 times. Instead of, that's when I would get in the ditch, was like, broke my lines and now I'm out. And I'm just looking at it differently now. It feels more like progress than perfection when I'm not focused on the streak. So that might work for some people. I mean, I admire anybody who has a 5,000 day streak. It's amazing. It's incredible. The other thing I wish I had known is to don't worry about what the BLE pros are doing. They've been doing this for like 9 years, or Jeni, right? And you're like, your plan and your program is going to evolve. So if it's pepperoni right now and bacon, right. You know what I mean? Like you might evolve to more beans and whatever later, to not get stuck in what people who've been doing this for 5 and 6 and 7 years are doing, because you just have to start probably where they started, trying to figure things out. And, so don't compare your beginning to somebody else's stellar 5 years or something.
Great advice. Thank you. Does anybody have any, we're finished up here. Does anybody have any last burning thing that they wanted to say and forgot to say before we close out?
I just wanted to kind of add to what Jamie was saying. When I started Bright Line Eating, I thought that I was the only one that was having a struggling program, because I would see people like Wendy and Shauna and all these other people that were bright and are in maintenance and all that stuff, and they didn't have the ups and downs that I'm having. But what I've learned is their journey was just the same. They're just further down. They're just further down the road. Their journey has been longer than mine is. And that doesn't mean that my journey is any less important. It's just the journey. It's my journey. And I've had ups and I've had a lot of downs and I've had a lot of years in the ditch. But that is what has shaped me to where I'm at today, because I'm not the same person I was when I first started Brightline eating, and I had a 90 or, I 8-month streak, and then I went in the ditch because I didn't learn everything that I learned now. So I just wanted to say, do not compare your journey to everyone else's or compare where you're at to where they are, because one day you will be there. And I would always hear that and think, oh, whatever. Yeah. I'm never, and never thought that I would get there, but it just takes one meal at a time, one day at a time. And then you're all of a sudden you're, at a destination that maybe you never thought you would be at. So.
Thank you. Hallelujah. Great way to end. Thank you so much, Angela and Jeni and Diana and Jamie. I just love you guys. I honor you. Thank you for being honest and open and being wonderful mothers. And thank you for spreading this legacy into your family and into your children, because it will continue on into your grandchildren too. Bye, baby Joshua. What a little cutie. Thank you. Thank you all. Have a good evening. And I'm gonna load this up onto YouTube, and you can be able to share it with your families and with your friends, and honor you guys as mothers, bright mothers. Take care.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
You.